Hey guys, today on the podcast I have Ramsey Mead. Ramsey is in his mid-50s and this guy's ripped and jacked. I really hope you guys get some experimental knowledge and wisdom from the life that he's lived. He's been through a lot starting from his early age, and he really goes into detail in the podcast here. Ramsey is one of the best health coaches I've ever seen through his experience and his knowledge. He is also hosting and having retreats where he's bringing people to his homes in Joshua Tree and really giving them an experience of a lifetime. This is how I got to meet Ramsey. I'm helping him out at his place in Joshua Tree, and hopefully we can get you guys out there as well. Ramsey is one of these special guys that is a truest to the health field, and I hope we could all look up to him and become the best version of ourselves, even into our later years. I really hope you guys enjoy this podcast with my friend Ramsey Mead. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Good Demand Podcast. Today on the podcast, I got my man here, Ramsey Mead. How are you doing today, my man?
Great.
Yeah, hell yeah, I love that. So, Ramsey, I love you because you are almost like you're like a man at his prime, I think. Like, you've had so much adventure in your life and balance. I think you've done so much. You're a balanced guy. You've done so many things, and it resembles in your character and who you are today. And that's why I want to have you on and kind of share that wisdom with, a bunch of young men and anyone who's interested into like developing themselves more fully.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Very kind words. Very excited. I'm glad to have you here out at the Vortex.
I appreciate you having me, man. It's such a beautiful place. What has brought you to this point in your life where now you're doing retreats and having your own homesteads out here?
Yeah, I've always been drawn to this area, and not just from aesthetics and just being out in the desert and what that brings, but like I just felt a calling to the desert.
Yeah,
and it just fit with all the grounding and the qigong and just the way I wanted to kind of live, and how I wanted to use that into a retreat for people to come out and really reset themselves,
right,
and develop and just experience the desert in a way which was very unique and very mind, body, spirit.
Yeah. And how did you start getting into all the work that you do? Because you do qigong. You talked about you trained with Paul Chek, or Paul Chek trained you?
Yeah. I went through some of his programs early on. I started training in probably, the late 80s,
Yeah.
And I was just fascinated by, I was sick as a child. I had Crohn's disease. And so I was just, I had been, so ill that I was trying to build myself up. And like I was studying, yoga books. There was no internet, so I had to really go down a deep rabbit hole and find a lot of information, learn a lot of things. And I wanted to gain the knowledge that was important to me, and I had a calling for it, and I just was like, I wanted to really focus on things that were going to make me, better, smarter, healthier, and in a way which I was drawn to. I was very interested in all these things. They were fascinating to me, and so I just really, Paul Chek was obviously a guy that I had met and I was very impressed with, and he had a lot of great knowledge. And tapped into that, as well as many other aspects. I spent a lot of time in martial arts. I grew up doing kung fu. Actually, Chinese boxing, gung fu is the
gung fu.
Gung fu,
yeah. Oh, wow.
And so, in other disciplines such as Tai Chi, I really got into Tai Chi because of the massage therapy, and the person who trained me was made sure I had to be proficient in that to deliver the proper massage and energy in that that translation. Yeah,
for Tai Chi massage?
No, just to
understand
take the health. She stressed the health of the body of the person or the healer that was delivering it for structure, alignment, and of course to actually use the power, the internal energy into the massage. And then from there, obviously yoga. Yoga was a big influence, early on, and then I found the magical art of qigong, and then I kind of went down the rabbit hole from that point. And then
I love that. Last night you're talking about how you went down that rabbit hole of like through like all the men's magazines, and you were lifting with like what were you lifting at? That was like a high end place with all like the you're doing HIIT and you're doing a bunch of crazy stuff.
Yeah. So you mean the training and all that, So
You said you're working at a facility. And you're like drinking brewer's yeast.
Yeah. So I was, I did a lot of. I was always in the formulation of things, and like trying to figure out. And early on, I couldn't. There was none of the supplement. All the supplements back when I was younger and sick were very basic.
Yeah.
So I took a lot of old bodybuilder books, and utilized like brewer's yeast, raw eggs, different amino acid combinations and things like that, to really tinker and kind of get additional results from not just food but other things, because it was like a nonstop thing that I was always researching and passionate about and wanting to, and I think as a young man, I was like, when I was sick, I didn't even really have a build in my body, and so I didn't have health, so I was always like, I want to see how far I can actually move away from being ill to develop myself in the way that I, the limits, or not placing limits on myself and trying to find out what it is that I really wanted to do.
And was it the Crohn's disease that kind of put you on that journey of like?
Definitely being sick. I really felt horribly bad all of my childhood, pretty much. And then when my dad died, it was a year later that I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and so I was faced with a turning point in my life. Like I really have to start looking at some of the things I had never looked at. Obviously, and as a young 13-year-old kid, it's like you don't really look at this stuff, and it's usually up to your parents, or you're just being guided in a way, and then at some point you start to kind of realize that like these foods may not agree with me, and these things seem to work and that kind of thing. And so once I kind of got past that point, I just started reading a lot of material, and I realized that like I didn't really come with an owner's manual. I didn't really have the information that I needed, and so I looked to. My mom sent me to an acupuncturist, and he gave me a book called The Tao Te Ching, and I just as soon as I read the first page, it like resonated with everything that inside me. And so I realized, and I was raised non-denominational, so I had no religious background or anything like that. So for me, I just was put in a position where this fit, and I liked the method, I liked the whole the Eastern philosophies, and I just started absorbing them and doing them, and the acupuncturist was very helpful and guided me through a lot of things and teaching me the.
He taught you stuff too.
Yeah, he was awesome.
So was he kind of like a mentor as well? Or?
Yeah, he was. Wow, awesome. He was great in recommending books and this and that, and some of the other things in terms of like. That I would be interested in, or maybe beneficial in terms of like where I was with my health, and obviously, even showing me certain acupuncture points in my body that like I was just it was fascinating to me, and I think he understood that I wanted to learn. So it was a great relationship, and so from there, then I went to a chiropractor, and he was great too, and I learned things from him, and then the conditioning of the body and all this stuff. So I kind of got a nice a starting point, and from there I just started really developing and learning and like trying to see what things I was interested in and was driven to, and it just kind of blossomed and grew from there. And
now you're like the guy for like a health poster child.
Well, I appreciate it. It's nice for me because I always remember how sick I was, right? And like there was a time where I was in a hospital bed, and I could hear my mom crying in the next room because the doctor said it could be cancer. And so I was just like, what do I do? And there was a lot of, my dad had passed, and there was a lot of negativity brewing inside my whole environment. And I didn't, uncertainty. I think uncertainty is something we have to learn to live with, but it's hard, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, especially when your body's not well. And so, getting to a point where, like I started to feel better, and all of a sudden I could, when someone feels good, that's never really felt, good before.
Yeah.
It's very empowering. And I kind of just was like, can I feel better? Mm-hmm. Is it possible to feel better than I feel right now? Because maybe I haven't even gotten there yet. Maybe other people are walking around feeling really good, and I'm still not there. Yeah. And that's what really drove me. Like I was always questioning that in my head.
Right.
And then I got to a point and I was kind of like, I don't think people are feeling like I feel, and then
like you're starting to feel better than them.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I got to that point and I was like, I think I finally have gotten to a point,
Yeah.
and then that was really interesting. But all the things like now, and I appreciate you saying like I'm in my peak or my prime, but I just I have 3 kids. I just had a baby just
I know.
almost, it was 2 years ago.
How old are you, real quick, for the audience?
I'm 55.
You're 55. Okay,
55.
beautiful. And ripped and looking
oh,
fucking great,
thank you,
moving
thank you.
around, lifting, has a brand new 2-year-old child. I mean, you're fucking killing life, I think.
Well, I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
just, I try to set up a bar for myself, and I don't do it for anybody else but myself. And it's not so much a discipline. It's just that I figured out what works for me and what I need,
Yeah.
to live the life that I'm very fortunate.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I have a wonderful relationship. I have great kids. I have a 2-year-old little girl that's just amazing. And, I just have taken care of myself, and I just do the things that I need to do.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, my lesson in life. And then to get to the point at this age where I just, I feel great all the time. I know how to modulate it,
Yeah.
I know how to and I know how to, harmonization of all the things that I like to do without, getting burned out. I still have, obviously disappointment, I'm a human being,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I still, I function at a higher level, I'll be honest. I just,
Yeah.
but I am, I practice Qigong at least once a day, usually twice. I make sure I get sleep. I eat well. I hydrate. I look at vibrational energy in a different capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep things, and the energy around me and the people that enter into my life is, even yourself. I mean, it's no accident we came together.
Yep.
But these things are important,
Yeah.
and I've had to learn a lot of skills along the way. And, I basically came into this world, I was born a jaundice baby. I had a Navy SEAL give me a blood transfusion to
Jaundice,
live.
the disease?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so
Wow, so you had a blood transfusion as a
blood
child. Wow.
from a Navy SEAL that
Wow.
saved my life, and no one held
Maybe
me.
that's why you're fucking badass. You got that blood in you.
Could be. I don't know. There's a soft side too. So
Yeah, absolutely.
but and I had a condition. I wasn't even held for like 2.5, 3 weeks as a baby.
Wow.
So I had a lot of things, but we come into this world, through a cycle.
Yeah.
We've been here before, and so I think when you can get at peace with certain things, you're able to understand how your life can be,
Yeah.
versus against, always being under stress and down, and, I face challenges almost every day, but I always look at like, how am I going to handle these challenges, or
Yeah.
how do I address them, and how my energy, if somebody's trying to engage with me, I don't meet that engagement. I have to determine my engagement,
Yeah.
and then certain aspects of that. And I've just had to learn a lot of things,
Yeah.
and be patient with myself, but at the same time, hold myself accountable, make, like, hey, there's some things that I need to work on. There's some things I have to do. And, I'm not going to stop until I get to a certain point, and the type of people that we attract in our life, how we, choose to see life and how we approach things.
Yeah.
It's very important. Very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, because I also I call it having a higher standard for myself.
Yeah.
So it's always like, what? I want things to be this way, and I need to step up. I need to get
Yep.
there. So it's like, I remember one day I was walking to work, and I had my stuff was unbuckled, my hair was all a mess, and I remember pausing on my walk to work. I was like, I gotta get my shit together right now. Like, this is not up to my standard,
Yeah.
I remember dropping my bag, tucking in my shirt. I spit in my hair a little bit and combed it. And I like that. I remember that moment for myself, because it was like, it was the first time I ever realized that, like, the reason why I feel successful, or why I feel like my life's on its purpose, or I have fulfillment, is because I'm holding myself up to a higher standard for myself daily.
Absolutely.
I'm not letting myself slack, and I'm pushing myself to reach something. And that sounds exactly what you've done with your life as well.
Yeah, and I think I've worked with so many people, and I think everybody has the potential to heal themselves.
Yeah.
And be a healer. I
Yeah.
mean, that's, and like the potential. I mean, I'm looking at you. You have endless potential.
Appreciate that.
And it's like to like I used to. I used to like really carry myself in a really, upright posture, and sometimes people are like, yeah, this guy, like, you know what I mean? Like kind of,
stick up his butt.
Yeah. Put, and I'm just trying to get out of pain,
I see what you mean.
And so don't worry about how others perceive you,
I see what you mean.
like you have to take care of yourself. Is obviously if you're a kind, loving person, it doesn't matter, but like to really hold yourself, like, not burning yourself out, not, pushing it's understanding balance.
Yeah.
But realizing that, like, hey, you know what I don't have these limits. These are the only limits I have is I put on myself.
Yeah.
And driving yourself to get to where you want to go. And it's like, and certain things take a lot of, adult conversations.
Yeah.
I say I sit myself down sometimes and have adult conversations.
Yeah. Please explain that, because you said that last night, and I had to ask you because you said like one thing that you were kind of aggressive about it. You're like, no one's coming to fucking save you. Like, get your ass up and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I've had certain conversations like that with myself where it's like, but it was more like, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, ready? Go fucking do it.
Yeah.
I'm in a different form, but I'm sure, like, does that work for you? Like, hey, come on, man, like those adult conversations.
Right. And I'm never one to like really be harsh to somebody, or even, that's not my attitude. But I think when you're dealing with yourself and communicating with yourself, because like, you can always like kind of deviate and like, this tomorrow or whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's just times where you just need to get so real with yourself and like, okay, talk to yourself as an adult, or talk to, you as an elder talking to yourself, because I look at that in ways like, I look at myself when I was younger, and I sometimes like, I should have done this differently. I should have handled this differently, or, this experience should have been different for me because I should have looked at it differently.
Right.
And so, sitting myself down, having an adult conversation is just like, getting to the point where like, it's just, I'm not hiding from anything, like, if, say if I, looked at something in a particular way, maybe I was being not soft about it, but I should have looked at it further, and I should have been like, you know what, it's, I just need to take care of this, and in life there's a lot of things I prefer doing this. I don't really want to do this, but I need to really do this. And I made a mistake. I should have focused my energy on that, and I didn't.
Yeah. And
so just own it, just own it, and then, move forward and do the best work you can, and just get real with it, and not, don't, I think a lot, I firmly believe in like the healing power of the quantum, where you can like, you could take care of something like this. It doesn't happen all the time, but I like the potential of that. Like, if I'm suffering from something, why am I suffering from it? Time is space and time. So, people say time heals. Well, what is time? It's space. It's a distance. So, like, if I can shorten that, why, like if you have an experience and, you're depressed by it or whatever, should you go on for 10, 30 days, 60 days until I say you're ready to heal? Or do you just like, hey, have a couple hours, think it out, maybe write some stuff down and just, get over it.
Yeah. And
now you have abundant energy that you can redirect into the area that you need, versus like dragging in your past.
Yeah.
And just, forgetting about it, move on. And like, it just, but it takes, kissing it goodbye. You know what I mean? Like
cutting it off.
Yeah, cutting it off.
Yeah, I have sometimes an issue with that.
Yeah, we all do. And I mean, believe me, I've just, but there are certain things where I've seen myself grow. Like, I've suffered in the past, and I've wasted some time, and I was always like, and it drags on you. It's like,
100%.
I wish I wouldn't have happened or whatever. And I just always like, okay, moving forward, okay, I'm human. I made a mistake, but I need to work on this. And working on it doesn't mean I'm trying to overcome what had happened, but any situation that comes up that could potentially, I could handle and move forward with, and then you feel good about it. When you accomplish something, even if it's small, at least you have something to build on. Like you hear a lot of people say, the first thing you get up in the morning, you should make your bed, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if I'm perfect with that one, but a lot of other things I'm good. I get up and make sure I'm, get the water in and get out to do my practice or whatever, and make sure I structure my day.
Yeah.
But and then I'll get back and make the bed later or whatever. Or, Sonny will get after me for not doing it. But yeah.
Well, some psychologists wanted to understand why you were so good at that as a child, right?
Yeah.
When your father passed,
Yeah.
and you kind of got over it right away. Was
Yes.
that the first time you've ever used that kind of like, hey, like let's think it through, let's not let this drag?
Yeah.
Because you were 13 at that time, right? When you
Yeah.
lost your father. So
Yeah. I just, when you look at a lot of things in a rational way, and like why, and if you think of something in a way that may be different than what the masses may think, but and you know it works for you, and I was very upset when my dad died. It was horrible, but he was suffering so much, and so for him, and his suffering was causing a lot of pain and suffering for family members, and it was just like, okay, like this was probably the best thing that happened, and so like him going, like there was sadness and grief internally in my body. I could feel it, but I knew that the sun was about to rise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like the end of the world. It was an opportunity for me to now I had to learn how to be a man on my own, and I had to go through life in a different way,
right.
which was, I guess, my path, right?
Right.
Why I'm here today, right? I mean, who could say all these things that have happened? Like I can't waste time thinking about all these were horrible or whatever. All I can say is like I'm so thankful that I'm here and I had these experiences, and like they have provided a certain way of seeing things where I wouldn't have seen that way. Who knows? I may have ended up completely different than I am now. But I said to these psychologists that like I'm okay with it. Like it was time for him to go, and it's good. But obviously, people hurt and have to overcome that, and it's just it's interesting, especially when we talk about like death and dying and some of the things that really are plague us, that really drag us down.
Well, I think it's a loss.
Yeah.
Because I think like even losing a relationship, like a lot of my turmoil was through losing romantic relationships, and it's like a little death as well.
Absolutely.
And I feel it's that always of like losing and transitioning into life, into a new thing. That's when we are attached to something, and then that inner pain comes out.
Right. And I think we're, as good human beings, we're always looking to the future, like this is, tomorrow, what's tomorrow going to bring, how what, and history, like to have like a history that we're making, or a legacy that we're leaving, or, have some sort of, driving force, even though, I'm not big on memories because, we talk about that too, but, it's more, what's happening. And like when I went through a divorce, you're like, exactly right. It dies, and with that, this is somebody that you cared about, you had feelings for, and those feelings, they never really fully go away, like
really?
It's like they're there, they're in you. Wow. They can be damaged to the point, but that feeling when it's really love, it's in you. Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, and there's certain things that may not work out, in the situation I was in, I developed in a particular way and she went in a different way. So therefore the relationship no longer worked. Right. However, the repercussion of that, having kids, having a life plan together, it's like, if you're like even in a business where you're planning on, getting this to this level.
Yep.
But, maybe it doesn't work out, or,
Did you guys not have that together? Like, didn't have a plan together?
Oh, we definitely had a plan. I mean, and
okay.
we were, I was together 17 and a half years or so. And, we had a lot of, financially together, everything, but in it just, things happen, that's life. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you just like, it's, it's perfect today and not so much tomorrow, then it's
Yeah.
perfect again,
Yeah.
So it, the ebbs and flows of it. But, you just, with that, I'm grateful I went through the experience. At the time I was not, and
Yeah, when you're going through it,
it's but even with, as a single man, in dating, after a certain point you realize that maybe this relationship isn't working or isn't going where I want, or you find something about that person that just doesn't resonate with who you are, but you've shared time and you've had fun and maybe it was fulfilling in certain ways, and it's not easy letting go of that, especially I think if you're a loving person, like you just you're involved in a relationship in any way, you just it's almost like you have to have a conscious uncoupling of that and healthy and like just friends, and you've shared something together, and so just kind of like understand that and realize that we're whatever the chemistry is, maybe it's just not working anymore.
That's so painful. Like I'm telling you, like some of the hardest times of my life were like the transition out of a relationship. And it's more so because of my upbringing. Like I always had like a need for like a family. Like my parents were kind of always kind of doing their own thing, and I was kind of like left in the middle a little bit. So I always wanted to like this is my person. And then when like each relationship I found myself in, I was like attaching myself like emotionally to them, and it feels great during that time. It's like, oh yes, I got like. And then each breakup would be like, fuck, like, oh my goodness, like I'd lose a part of myself.
Yeah.
So like transitions like that, I 100% relate, or like death, and it's difficult. I also wanted to get your point of view as an older man, like how the transition from different stages of your life, like how important did certain stages of your life seem? Because like right now I'm in my 20s, right? So I'm more like, oh, let's get this growing and build and conquer. Then you hit a 30-40 stride where it's like you're kind of established, hopefully, and now you're transitioning to a different part of your life. And how did the importance of each stage of your life change as you move through them? You can talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's fascinating, because we come into this world by ourselves, and we end it by ourselves, and so it's like what we do in between there. And I've been very blessed, as I go through this process. It's like a roller coaster, ride.
Sure.
And like say when as some of the hardest time I ever faced was when I was under a young boy, and then when I got into high school, as I got healthy, things started to like blossom, but I still, I struggled a lot until I really started to, do a lot of work on myself. And then, into the 20s, I was working a lot. I found my passion, and it was great, and I just kind of cruised probably up into my, like mid 30s. Right. And, a lot of things happened in between that, that were in it, but things were great, but then, having kids, right? And then you go through different, you hear this, but, different chapters and things like that. As far as aging body and stuff like that, I felt, when in my 20s, I felt like, I was invincible, pretty much.
That's how I feel right now. I'm scared of getting older.
Yeah. And so, like when I was you, I was just like, I don't want this to end,
Right,
I don't want, so, and I'm looking around people I went to high school with that like don't even resemble what I once knew them to look like. Right.
Yeah.
And, aside from aesthetics, their lifestyle and, what their, their happiness and all these things. And so I was just, I didn't, I think when my dad died, my dad had a heart attack and he died basically in front of me. it sent a shockwave to me. Like I was just like, I'm not going to live like that. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to do that. And so when I got sick, I was like, there's something here. I need to really take care of myself, because nobody, we talked about the other day, no one's coming to the rescue.
Yeah.
My mom had checked out. I didn't have really any family support or anything like that. And I didn't really have a good role model or anything like that. So I just had to take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And, it's just, when you're trying to, navigate through the storm, you make a lot of mistakes. I think I had a lot of conditioning, like you were saying. Like, I came from not such a great family environment. I remember loving times, but in the reality, there was some really not so good things. So I was really eager to start a family. I was really motivated to, have a successful business. Really like make my mark in this world. And like find what I'm good at and really drive that. That was important to me, and I think it's important to a lot of people that, are savvy and want a really good life.
Yeah.
And take advantage of these things and really, develop yourself spiritually. Like it doesn't matter, what religion you are or whatever. I think spirituality is for everybody. I think that, we're all spiritual and then we're all just evolving and we need that aspect. And so as I was, the conditioning, as I got older, I started to realize that I was almost programmed in a way. Mm-hmm. And I had to make adjustments to really kind of like get away from that. And as
programmed in what? Like,
just like I needed, I really needed to get married at this age. I needed to do this. I needed to have kids. I
Other
needed
people's standards.
Or it just ended up here, and I can't really say how because I didn't come, I didn't come from a great family. Like I wasn't coached in anything. I didn't have a lot of parental guidance or any of that. Yeah. So
it's what you saw.
It's what it somehow ended up in me.
Gotcha.
And that's of course the driving force, like you were talking about too. Like you want something. I wanted a family. I wanted to do this. I wanted to really have a life that I could really make my own.
Yeah.
And so as I started to kind of go through and when I hit 35, had kids and, things started to change in the relationship, and all the different, stresses and owning a house and all these things. And then, the turbulence and, then my business, I got really, busy and good. And then, we had like a recession happen, and all of a sudden, the whole financial thing, and lose half my business, and
the 08 one.
The 08 one, and then, it was just that all of a sudden the relationship, fell apart, and so I'm over there and I'm trying to just navigate and figure out things, and here I am. I'm 40 some years old, and I this is not where I wanted to be,
Fuck.
and. And then all of a sudden I'm in like financial trouble, and I'm like, this is not where I wanted to be. And I didn't think I would be like, single guy and, like just like trying to process things out and, not everything's going my way. What did I do? What happened?
Oh, shit.
And so I just was like, I gotta work harder, I gotta work harder on myself and I'm going to do everything I can. And I'm just gonna like start swinging, and there was some rough times, and then I had to learn how to be a single guy again in the 40s, and it wasn't so hard, it just was it was a lot of management at time, and really establishing my workflow and really getting back into what I needed to do, and from there. My body was starting to change in ways, not like crazy. I was still, really good. I wouldn't say I really felt myself age until I was like 49.
49. Okay. That's a good,
49.
That's a good time.
I've always eaten very well.
Yeah.
I haven't used any alcohol. Not a big, I never was into drugs. I never really did anything crazy or anything like that. And tried to always just, exercise, never excessively, especially most of my existence. I trained very hard early on because I was just, again, I had a whole lot of testosterone and I was just trying to, move further away from my illness was really the thing, and trauma, just really trying to, and lifting heavy stuff felt good. I'll be honest with you.
Absolutely.
And so that, when my body aged of like 49, and it just, I realized, you know what, I wasn't doing enough. I wasn't, I needed to work harder. I need to make some adjustments. I need to like do things. I need to
tighten things up.
Tighten things up. Yeah. And I did, and I'll continue to do so. I mean, that's part of the process, and it works. And I think when you put forth an effort and you really focus on something, you'll find it. And the information, especially now, I'm just, I don't like really being on my phone a whole lot. I'm more of an unplugged kind of guy, but I just I love information, good information, and I'm fascinated by, it doesn't matter what generation or whatever. Just I'm even like, I learned stuff from you this weekend. It's like it's fascinating to me, and I've always had that mind. I'm kind of a millennial at heart, I guess. Because I feel where you guys are at. I feel like we haven't done a good job for you guys. You know what I mean? Like it's like we should have been in a better position. I thought, to be honest with you, Miguel, when I was young, I thought when I had Crohn's, I was like, by the time I'm older, nobody's going to be suffering from this because we were going to, you know what I mean? Like there's going to be,
it's going to get solved.
Yeah, right. Because I was like young. I was one of, it was older Jewish people, with Crohn's disease. Yeah. And so, and it came out of nowhere. No one in my family or anybody like that. And I think primarily in my case, and I've worked a lot in the Crohn's world, and it was emotional trauma and food allergy. Technically, I have. The medical community will deny that.
Okay.
But we don't really care about them in this capacity. But and I'm a huge advocate of natural health and healing, and I just subscribed all my energy to that.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to detour Western medicine or people that maybe using medications for certain things. It just didn't work for me,
right?
And so I had to find an alternative way, and there is information out there for people, and I just took advantage of it.
Yeah.
And with that, in terms of having any symptom or problem, I have nothing. And I've
that's amazing.
And for quite many years, and I've had scopes done, everything in terms of, no trace, nothing, if I get, any sort of like imbalance, it's never related to that series of stuff that I had at all. So
that's fucking remarkable, man.
Thank you. Yeah. It's, if anything, I hope people, when they see me, they can just, think for a moment that they can do it. They can heal themselves, and I've worked with a lot of people over the years. When I was a trainer, I worked in a clinical practice doing, nutritional balancing and detoxification. That, I just saw so many amazing things happen with people if they just, believed in themselves and made the right choices. And I think that anybody can heal themselves, given the right circumstances. And I don't mean that in some like half-hearted way. I think that it's I've seen so many times it proven, And but when I hit 49, I just realized, like, I don't know where this is going, and when you look around and people are very negative, they're just like, and you see a lot of people that may have been taking care of themselves that have gotten sick or have had certain things happen, and you're just kind of scratching your head, like, what is it, you ask yourself, am I blessed with good genetics? Or, am I doing the right things? You look at a lot of different things and like analyze them.
Right.
And I'm always analyzing different type of professionals that are out in the media platform, and, really critiquing, because I've been in this industry, I've been around the industry so long, right, and involved in this. And I've always just been, drawn to, Chinese medicine and natural healing, and, the things that we can have control over, the lifestyle factors. And to me, those are the most important, and really having a good set of how to live your life. What is your meaning in life? What it brings to you,
right,
and what it brings to, the people around you. So 49, I started, and I'm like, okay, where's this going from here? Then I meet Sunny, and she wants to have a baby, and I'm like, I already have 2 kids, and I'm like way too old to be having kids, and I'm thinking, okay, as long as it doesn't mess with my sleep, we may be able to make this work.
Yeah.
And so, but in actuality, and I dragged my feet quite a bit, and I came with a lot of disclaimers for many reasons.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, I'm so happy that she's in my life, Sunny and the baby. So it's pretty special, and it keeps me youthful because now I'm looking at her at like 18 or so, and if she's, maybe, physically active doing sports or whatever, I want to be participating with her. I want to be an example for her.
Damn,
like it's like, and so.
That's gonna keep you fit at 80.
Yeah, and well, like when I was a trainer, I was like, I need to look this part.
Right,
I was like, because a lot of people weren't, and I was like, no, I am teaching this. It's important for me to look this way and to be real, not just just showing up to make money, and you know what I mean?
feel you.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
I work hard to sell the part.
yeah. I mean, you're in amazing shape, and you're living it, you
Right.
know. And no, I mean I give so much respect for people like that because it's a choice and it's hard work. It's not. It doesn't. I mean, whether you have good genetics, whatever. It at a certain point, genetics don't even. You get to a certain age, it doesn't matter anymore. You have to really, be able to be in touch with the things that are going to keep you at that level you want to do. And I think, we were talking a little bit about, the mobility, the strength, and all those things. And, obviously the physical activity, is paramount. You have to, keep moving. And I don't allow myself, I'm not like, I'm not trying to win a strength contest, and I'm not,
Right.
deadlifting a lot of weight or whatever, but I know that I don't want to have any pain in my body.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to move, and I was motivated with the Eastern system because I saw a guy that was older than me doing qigong in the park, and I was like, I don't move like that guy, and I'm younger than that guy.
Oh,
and so
shit,
I was like, and I'm always looking ahead, what am I. What am I gonna be at like 80?
Yeah.
I mean, we're like I was saying the other day, and I was just kind of joking about it. But take an apple, cut it up, and throw it out in the sun. We're all gonna look like that at some point. And it's just the thing is, it's like we have to go in certain phases and look at what that represents. And at 55, it's always these birthdays, are like it's better. It beats the alternative. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah.
yeah. So life is good. Even when it's bad, it's good. You got to tell yourself and just keep plugging away. And just trying. I like to think that I'm getting better. I can't look at it like I'm getting worse or, I'm always looking like, I look at it like last year, I got better shoulder mobility this year. I've got,
sick.
better energy, performing better sexually than I was last year or 6 months ago.
Damn, really?
Well, I mean,
Damn, Ramsey.
I'm just saying that, as an example, I hope so. You'd have to ask my partner to tell you. But, it's just one of those things. Like you have to
keep growing.
I think when you're like, this is it, this is it, and you look at it like that, you can't but you also have to change your frame of reference. I find myself being more drawn into, nature and away from other things, that you focus on more a detailed focus on what you're into, instead of well, a little bit here and there, and just but what the whole thing that we were doing, qigong in the morning, and then this, because I know how vital that sun is when it pops up, and what that means to my body, mind, soul, and then circadian rhythm, and I'm really as you guys are I'm with you guys. I'm in the same group. You're learning it, and you're trying to understand it, and I'm I'm still a student of it. I'm just like, but subscribing in the same way you are.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, I gotta be true to this. I gotta maintain this, and I gotta figure out, the work life thing and keep it under control. And I always look at it like, it's Friday afternoon or Sunday afternoon or whatever. I just look back over the week and I'm just like, you know what, I did a good job. Like I did a fine job. You gotta celebrate it like that. It's not like you take yourself out and now I can have ice cream or whatever. No, you have to just look at it like like this is life.
It's like a fulfillment. It's fulfilling.
Yeah. It is. It's like you get a good night's sleep, celebration. You can have a good practice, qigong practice or exercise, you work out, it is good. It's a celebration. You have to, I look at it like that. I break them down, because if you're just like at the end of the year, like, oh, this is a good year, like, did I do this and did I make this much money or whatever, I mean, some days I lose money, some days I make money, like but it's just, you have to look at it, at those little chunks and say, you know what, this is good for me. And it helps me, further it down the road,
Yeah. I've actually had to make a practice of celebrating all the wins.
Yeah.
Because like one time I lost my phone and I couldn't find it. And then, the negativity, you feel, oh, like bad.
Yeah.
But and then when people would find their phone, they feel like, oop, yay. And that's it. That's
right,
as happy as they'd go.
Yeah.
But they'd go all the way down into terror.
Yeah.
So now every time there's like a win, like I find my keys or something, or there's no traffic when there's supposed to be traffic, I like force myself to like, yes, happy, yeah, like get that out just to celebrate that win.
Yeah, that's good for your body. It's good for your body.
Great.
Yeah.
It's good for my perspective as well, because I think our brains are more designed to recognize and identify negativity.
Yeah.
And then we forget about the positive. We completely don't celebrate that, but we'll dwell on the negative because, our body's more wired to making sure we're, staying away and keeping that on high alert and in our attention, and how that has value, which kind of sucks. But I wanted to ask about your Men's Health cover shoot.
Oh, okay.
I love Men's Health. That's actually how I started on my kind of health journey. Like I always liked sports and stuff, and I didn't know where to get information from. So I'd read Men's Health, Muscle and Fitness.
Muscle and Fitness, yeah.
And what's another one? Oh, Flex. That was the big bodybuilder one. Like,
yeah. And what's funny is like, so Miguel, when I was like, I think it was like 10, one of my buddies, his uncle was a amateur ranked bodybuilder, and he had a big competition. And so we came and we like helped out, and we carried the trophies for the guys. And that was the first time I was ever exposed to like muscles like that, bodybuilding, and all that stuff. And so that was, that was like, it was kind of freaky but cool, you know. And I was always kind of more on the cool side. Yeah. But when I got sick and I was in the hospital with Crohn's, and my mom was like, what do you want to read? And I said, bring me muscle books. Yeah. Bring me muscle books. And so I got Muscle and Fitness. And there was like a pro NFL guy on the cover. I forget who it was. And I just went through it, and I ordered a bunch of books out of the back. And then I would, all the old school, some of the real old school guys, because they were the ones that were like in print at that time. Right. Yeah. And so, I ordered, all this stuff. And I needed that input. And so it was, so for me, years later, and it was just weird that, I was walking down the street and some, Eileen Ford from Ford Models and came up to me and she says, I can put you in Europe tomorrow. And I was like, and at the time I was like, I was living in San Diego, good life. And I didn't really, wasn't interested, but she enticed me to start doing some stuff. And then, all of a sudden I'm like modeling. And then, you know what I mean? And I was like, I went from a sick kid to modeling. And then,
was that your first job?
I think my first job was like an underwear job, like
you're out in your underwear, selling it.
Yeah. It was the back of like a newspaper or something like that for like, I don't know, one of the department stores, like Macy's or something like that. Oh, wow. and then it just kind of took off. And then all of a sudden, years later, it's I had to cover Men's Health, and I was like, and then we talked about Paul Chek. I did some stuff for Outside Magazine, and he used me because I could do the exercises, and that kind of thing. But it was cool, and I did a bunch of fitness stuff. I can't even remember all of it, but I kept and the thing was, I kept myself always in good shape. There was a lot of guys that I worked with that would be, they'd have to diet down to like get abs and stuff. Yeah. And I was always ready to go. I was always like, and that was the thing, is I always kept in that check, I never really I wasn't bloated belly or any of that stuff. I was, because again, I came from a health situation and I was all about health. I just ended up into this, photographic, modeling things, superficial, if you will, but just because of, accident, more or less, so it was, but I think there's power in that. And if it motivates people to really, I was on the end of it motivated. And so I feel good about being part of that at that time. And just, it was good,
No, I love that magazine. I cherish it just because I remember that was just how I first got into it.
Yeah.
And I would get stacks of them, and the covers were always black and white. Well, back in the day, they're all black and white.
Yeah.
And I would just read everything, and that's kind of how I got also involved in in self-development in a holistic way.
Yeah.
Because they'd give advice on how to dress properly. They'd have columns on this bartender would give advice on dating and stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's a man's book,
It's a man's book.
Yeah. And it was current and it was trendy and stuff. And it's important to guys, and not having that, growing up, I think now there's there's such a better support system. I mean, it's and the tribe that you have, and how, considerate you guys are towards each other and how eager you are to help each other and the information exchange. I mean, my God, I wish I would have been part of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At my age, I'm kind of that's why I like you guys so much. It's it's I'm like, man, I love that they're at this stage,
Yeah.
It's really cool. But yeah, I think that there's that serves a purpose, and then from there, obviously, we go from, Men's Health and these kind of very, generalized ways of looking at exercise to Paul Chek, it's but you need something to spring load you to get to there and experiment and kind of get some, your feet wet,
some good information.
Yeah.
I want to hit on just advice for men.
Yeah.
You're at a very high point in your life, I believe. I feel like you've been through the trenches a lot, and a lot of even for myself, sometimes I feel like, man, I'm stuck in a stage, or I'm concerned about the future. When you were talking about you in your 40s, when you're like, man, I don't want to be at that point. When you're looking forward in your life, I was like, oh my God, I have so much aspirations for my future life. I hope I never say that, fuck, I didn't want to be here at a certain point. So just you been through those trenches. Is there any any advice that's general or what kind of help us out here, man?
Yeah. No. I think you need to be kind to yourself.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
But just, problems happen,
Yeah.
I mean, I could lose my arm tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And it could change my life completely, but I'm going to have to find a way to move forward, and I better find a way which is a good way.
Yeah.
And so, I went from, never have to really think about money. I made a good living. I wasn't a millionaire. Okay. Right. But for me, I know how to live, and I know what's important to me. And there's more thing, money is very important, but it's not the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so, I hit rock bottom and I was broke. And
Damn.
So, and when you're there, you look around for, for who are your real friends and what is important to you. And because you have to find a way, and so regardless of what you may be going through, you have to constantly be working on yourself and not giving up and being, don't be hard on yourself, but keep moving yourself in the direction you want to go. And it can happen at any age. I think that for most people, more than likely they won't have to. Hopefully, won't have to go through what I went at that. Because usually you get to that age, but the thing is that like I'm good. Like I did the work and I came out of it. But it was there was times when I questioned a lot of things. And what it did is I think when you get that low or removed from what you thought you were, there's a lot of therapy in that,
right?
Like because you never thought you'd be there, so you're there. So you have to like get comfortable with it for a moment,
Right.
and then realize like, okay, I don't have to stay here. I can figure out something,
Yeah.
and like we talked about, you think high of yourself. Well, if you think
Yeah.
high of yourself now, why shouldn't you think high of yourself
And
when something like that should happen?
Yeah.
And that's your challenge. That's
Right.
the work is really, like, I'm this enlightened being. I do this and this, and I meditate and all that. That's great, but the thing is that like, what are you going to be like tomorrow?
Right,
How,
right.
how are you going to handle that tomorrow?
When you fall or
Yeah, and you have friends that will fall. You'll have friends that will go through devastation. And I
Yeah.
just had a friend that went through that, and you got to be there for them.
Yeah.
You got to be there, and you have to help them, and you have to learn too.
Yeah.
Like my experience is no different than yours. It's just that I went through it, and you haven't gone through it yet.
Yeah.
And
Fuck.
yeah, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you may not, but you may have a different experience
Right,
that I
right.
haven't been through, and it's all, part of this whole cycle, and being able to, take a moment, take
Yeah.
a breath, and make a plan, and see a brighter sunrise than what you're dealing with right now. And it can happen at any age, and it can happen at any time. Most of the time, I was like, why is this? You actually, why is this happening now? This is like everything was going so great, and like, it's like, but,
Yeah.
it's just that's, but I know that around the corner is, a really good moment coming.
Yeah.
Like it never, it's never doomsday.
Right.
And that's the thing is you got to remember. And I think the more. I've gotten so into the whole, mind body, cultivation because I put so much faith into it that like I needed it in terms of like re-educating my nervous system and
Yeah.
reprogramming myself and people are like, oh, you're so good at it, so it's like, and the reason I've gotten so good at it is I'm not trying to like be better than anybody. I'm not trying to sell myself in any particular capacity.
Right.
I just know what is out there.
Yeah.
And I know that if I do the work, I'll be in a better situation to meet it head on.
Yeah.
I had a client one time that was that I taught how to meditate, breathe and meditate. Those are probably the most powerful things that I ever taught anybody.
Really?
Yeah. It's hands down most important.
Wow.
That had the highest degree of carryover and correlation into real living. And he got into a plane crash when the one went down in the Hudson in New York.
Oh, wow.
The famous one, yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
He was sitting right first class front seat, and he texted his wife that they were crashing and goodbye, I love you and everything like that. And he said to me that if I had not taught him meditation, he would have never made it through that.
Wow.
So it's and I think about situations like that, and I train enough people that were like, I trained an 84-year-old woman who fell off a ladder, broke both kneecaps, and she was servicing the assisted living home that she owned. So she was the only reason she was living in it, she owned it, and so she was like, she was on the ladder, she fell off, so I rehabbed her back.
Wow.
And you look at like people that go through things like that, and like what it takes to develop yourself in that
Yeah.
capacity, and I always look at like, if I have to, save somebody, like I need to keep myself in shape. So if I have to save somebody, or if
Right.
I have to, if somebody calls upon me, that's why I don't keep I'm not interested in lifting a refrigerator. I'm not interested in like doing 500 pounds on a deadlift. I'm interested in like, if I
Need to save somebody's
need
life.
to crawl to get somewhere, or they save somebody's life, I want to,
Be fit enough to handle the situation.
exactly. And that's, from that point, because he shared with me too that he had to like stand in like freezing cold water for quite some time before they came and
really?
got him.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't even know that.
And stuff like that. Yeah. And, so there's a lot of things that, that to prepare for and see in the future that are out there that we just don't know.
Yeah.
The more we can plan for something, prepare ourselves to handle it, the better off we're going to, because, I always look at it like this. I have kids and stuff like that. I got to be prepared to, drive the spaceship,
Yeah. Drive the spaceship.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing,
You're
so,
the leader.
so, you fall down, you get up,
Yeah.
there's no, it's just the way it is. You find your way regardless of what it is, and sometimes you have to lean on people. And that's what people are. There's a lot of really great people around that are there to help you, and you just if everybody has low moments. It's like you can't take it all on yourself at times. And they're there, and you can feed off them, and they're going to feed off you at some point. So it's a reciprocation.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I'm going to rapid fire questions before we finish it off.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah.
Cool. When was the best time of your life? We kind of touched upon some of the toughest parts of your life. Best part of your life.
I would say when my first wife was pregnant.
Oh wow.
Yeah. That was pretty amazing.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Because it was it was so new. It
Right.
was so and I never thought I would be having kids.
Yeah.
And so that was like, it was just like a dream state.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then I would say, having Persia was pretty spectacular too, because it was COVID, and everything was just everything was locked down, and like everything was like the world's going to end, and all of a sudden here comes this baby.
Wow.
And that was yeah. So I would say that's probably my biggest accomplishments, is having kids and delivering them, like pulling them out, cutting the cord, putting them on their mother.
Pulled them out, baby.
Yeah, pull them
that's
out.
what's
Yeah,
up.
sometimes you got to open the lion's mouth and stick your head in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's another thing I suggest too, is don't be afraid.
Yeah.
If you screw up, you just improvise and go, man.
As a parent.
Anything. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just, because you're looking. It's all about an experience, and so from that, it's I had no idea what when Sunny was pregnant, how that was going to be.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? It's a different experience.
Right.
I need to go into this, and it's just
Jump on in.
it's just like and don't view it as good or bad. Just like I'm here to take it in.
Yeah.
How I can take it in and really learn from it.
I love that. Psychedelics,
yeah. I think that there's a lot of merit in it today. I think there's a lot of people that can benefit from it, especially from a qualified practitioner administering it. I don't participate in it. I'm not a thing of it. There was a time in my life where I tried LSD, and I think that it really expanded my mind in a way which I never thought it could. And I'm glad for that experience. Would I use it again? No, but it definitely gave me some. It taught me how to use my brain differently.
Whoa. Okay.
To kind of see things. And when I did it, I just got a lot of answers, and I can't really say how. It's not some warm and fuzzy thing. It was just I just understood things, and I saw things.
Yeah.
And but I think I don't, for your average listener, I wouldn't suggest it. I would just because I think we have it in us, and what I've learned is I've gone further past that, because it was if anything, it was an educational process for me, and I realized that it's in me. It was always there. I was younger, and I wasn't fully aware, and then as time went on, I started to see, okay, it's there. It's just up to me to access that and to pull from that and to see things in a way that need to be seen through my eyes, my vision, and to be open to understand things, and the possibilities of things that are unfolding.
Yeah, I love that. Next question was, I actually wrote this one because what you said last night. like no one likes a needy man, but when you met Sunny, you're like, man, this woman needs me, and then like that really sparked
Yeah.
you up and made you like
Yeah.
get that masculine
Yeah.
energy out.
Yeah, I think it's when you're with somebody that doesn't need you,
As a man, right?
As a man, yeah. As a man, it's like, I mean, if you're dating a girl and you're having fun, and she doesn't need you, and she's self-sufficient, and she's a good person and stuff like that, and you're doing your thing, the same thing, it's cool. But when you come down to like a relationship that you're going to go, thinking about going a distance with, or you're very like-minded with, and you want to build something together. Here's somebody that needed a man, right? Needed a man, like I want a man, right? And here I am over here, and I'm a man, right?
Well, I'm a man.
And they don't want just any old man,
Yeah.
and so it's like, here's an opportunity, like, hey, you're wanted. You're wanted in a really good capacity, and it's not like I don't want to abuse you. I need the qualities of you, of a man, to be in my life, to give me that aspect, to balance and harmonize my existence.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's an honest woman, and that's the kind of woman that I like, and that gives me something, gives me nourishment, gives me nourishment to my soul.
Yeah.
That I want to do, especially after an experience of going through a divorce where, I wasn't needed. I mean, she went and found somebody else when she was with me. So,
God
I mean,
damn.
it was like, that's, that's something you have to understand. Like, okay, well, in some of the things that we think about, well, was I not enough? Or, was she seeking something that wasn't there? Or
Right.
is there, all these things that we may think about to, analyze our existence. And in the end, it doesn't matter. What matters is like what you do with it. And,
Right.
and like, I'm so grateful for the experience of having a divorce, because
Wow.
I'm in like the best situation I could ever be in. I mean, like I got, I got an amazing family with it. You know what I mean? Like it's like, and I have my other two kids from previous marriage are unbelievable. So I'm I put a lot of vested interest into the universe, and the universe, the karma, whatever, has paid me in a way which I'm grateful for.
That's beautiful, man. Last two. You said last night, if you had advice for your younger self, it'd be listen to yourself. What do you mean by that?
It's you, even as a young man, you have wisdom in you, and an innate wisdom. You just haven't tapped into it, and it's be humble, but don't seek so far away. It's there. It's knowledge is meant to unlock power within you, and that's there. I mean, it's like tomorrow you're me. I mean, and you'll know more than me. And maybe I'm still alive and I'll know more than you. Or maybe not. But it's just I mean, it's there. It's just be inquisitive, and be interested in things, but realize you can convert this stuff yourself.
It's in here.
It's there. It's there's so much intuitive knowledge and power within you.
Yeah.
And I've just kind of stayed silent at times, and I just I've listened and watched to a lot of people and things like that, and I just I just think that like a lot of times when we're young, and I was believe me, I didn't have any guidance, I had nothing, so I was always like this is good information or whatever, but I was always like I had a pretty good bullshit meter too, and I was and my I always say my dad was clinical and my mom was cynical.
Oh, wow.
So I was always my dad was a scientist, and my mom was educated, and I just was always kind of back and forth, and so I know like the thing, and like just I want good knowledge that I can take into my body, and then it's because it's you that has to like fine tune it and like put it into practice, and make it you, and develop yourself, because it's like I'm developing. I'm not even like I'm not, I don't even know if like, you know, I'm even like what, halfway or whatever to where I want to be. I'm always constantly, you know, every day getting up like, hey, who cares about yesterday? It's gone. It's history,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm trying not to look too far into the future. I don't want to be anxious. I want to be like, okay, you know, I want to be better. I want to be, you know, better than I used to be. And like,
Absolutely.
you know, just like, you know, striving and thinking of things that, where I can, you know, develop myself and, you know, learn more. And, you know, as I go on in life, you know, like just like when I get to that final breath that I have, you know, like you know, okay, last breath. I feel good about this, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Last one. Before that last breath, you know, what is your dream?
My dream for like humanity or myself, or, you know, just like I think myself, my dream would be to have a property where all my kids live, and all my family lives. You know, I mean that would probably be it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's probably my ultimate dream.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a beautiful thing.
And you know, coming out here to the desert, it was like, you know, I wanted to, you know, these sanctuaries. It's important to me that we have a place to go to that is free of, you know, noise pollution, you know, light pollution, you know, distractions, you know, all these things. Like, I just look when I was young, I always go back to when I was a little boy, and I remember, you know, the fresh smell of nature and being outdoors and like the simplicity.
Yeah.
And, you know, how it felt, you know, and how raw and beautiful it was and how innocent it was. And for me, I look at certain things, and, you know, there's just so much we don't need, you know. And so, you know, being involved in living in like a sanctuary, anybody, you know, creating your own sanctuary, your own, you know, way of like stepping away from the world to like, you know, ground and have that sanity that you need. As far as an ultimate dream, I mean, I just, you know, I just would like to see things change, you know, you know, change for the better, and more of, you know, less stress for people. You know, I think that we just live in too much fast-paced stress, and demands on people are so high, and I think it, you know, breaks people down. And if I can change that, and I think if anything in my dream and what I'm offering and I'm trying to do out here is to help people, make people better, and, you know, change the way things are perceived in a way that, you know, they can live a better life and like, you know, have access to things and tools that they may have not had access to.
Yeah. That's beautiful, man. Well, where can people find you? Where can they find you to change themselves and relieve that stress?
Camp Vortex Retreats, my friend.
Vortex Retreats, yes.
Yes, and I'm excited to get this the mothership off the ground and really get things rolling, man.
Well, it's going, man. It's beautiful out here. It's landscaped beautifully, and interiorly is amazing. That's why I had to do it right in front of this area. Sunny did an amazing job with all the properties, man.
She's a special lady.
Thank you for being on.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, Miguel.
All right, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.